of the day. If you are not familiar with the Grad Center, anybody here whose first time it is at the Grad Center? Guys, Koreatown is on 32nd Street. Koreatown, so good. Worry Jeep, amazing. Okay, there's so much good food there. All right, I would recommend you take a visit. But we're going to get started with our presentation, and we're going to talk about playing with our food, using games to raise students' awareness of campus food insecurity. And I swear, after just a couple of slides of this, I'm going to shut up and let my awesome student presenters, undergraduate students from Kingsborough Community College, talk about their work. So we have Amadella Clarke, Jake Wong, Destiny Rivera, and even though they couldn't be here, Talha Naveed and Sanaya Williams, they were two amazing researchers who are going to talk about everything they did. And we also had the help of Glenda Ullauri and Dr. Rositsa Ilieva. So I'd like to begin by asking you guys some questions. So I know a lot of you are not CUNY, so let's pretend this is not just CUNY students. What are some of the major health problems that students at your school experience? Are there any? Are they all paragons of health? Yeah?
Overeating at dining halls.
Okay, overeating at dining halls. Any other health problems you see students experience? Yeah?
Eating bad food at dining halls.
Okay, dining halls, the silent killer, right? Nina, you raise your hand?
Yeah, we have food insecurity at our campus, so we have a pantry and stuff.
Okay, food insecurity, students not getting nutritious food or enough food to eat. Any other problems?
I was thinking a lot of mental health. I see a lot of mental
Yeah,
health.
mental health, maybe depression, anxiety, other struggles. So when we think about what students are experiencing in our colleges and our universities, we see that they have struggles related to food, to mental health, maybe other physical issues. So do you guys have programs on campus that can help students solve their problems? Okay, maybe some people are like, oh, we do not have any help for students. What about you guys, yeah?
I know in my school, in the dining hall, we have like a website where you can put like suggestions or like, where you can place a complaint if there's a problem that happens in the dining hall.
Okay, so there could be suggestion boxes with our god-awful dining halls, which nobody likes. That's a universal trait apparently, yeah?
I'm not at CUNY, but our campus has the Dean of Students Office has what they call a care referral program where you can refer students of concern to the Dean of Students Office, and they provide resources and support.
Okay, so there could be major offices like the Dean of Students offices that people can refer students in need to, yeah?
Yeah, I know for mental health, on TCNJ we have CAPS, which is Counseling and Psychological Services, I think is what it stands for.
Okay, so that's another big support program. How many people have counseling services at their school? Many of us, right? And we can all agree that these campus programs are invaluable, even if maybe they need funding, or sometimes maybe they might need to rethink some of the programs they offer. And one of the other questions is, how many students at your school know about and use these programs? How many students might know there's a counseling services or that there's a food pantry, and how many students regularly go to these programs? And if you think about whether these programs are effective, we find that one of the biggest barriers to effectiveness is that students often don't know or sometimes don't feel comfortable using these programs, right? You can have the best program in the world, but if students don't realize it because they never read their student emails or they never get the information in places like class, they're never going to use it. Or they might just not, they might feel like, I don't want to be the only person using this, so they don't get the support they need. So our project is all about food insecurity, which is a particular health problem for actually many campuses and colleges. And at CUNY, City University of New York, there is research showing that over 50% of students in CUNY community colleges, two-year colleges, basically are experiencing regular, serious problems getting healthy, nutritious food on a regular basis. So they might not have enough food to eat, experiencing hunger, or they might have really unhealthy food. And what's amazing about us is that we have actually many resources available at Kingsborough Community College, which is our home campus. Amadella will talk more about them, but we have a campus food pantry and an urban farm that actually has, creates over 3,000 pounds of food every year, okay? But we know that a lot of students do not necessarily understand these resources, and so what we're going to talk about today is a food day panel. It was a one-day conference where we presented research we did, and we created games for over 70 students who attended our panel, and we wanted to see whether we could use these games to help students actually learn about and use the resources. And so the rest of our presentation is going to be talking to you about what's the background, what were our games, and were we actually effective? Okay? And I am going to start by asking one of my wonderful students, Amadella, to come up and start talking about the background. So thank you guys.
All right.
No more talking from me.
Thank you, you guys. Nice to see you here today. So just press down. Okay, just checking. Make sure I know how to operate this stuff. Okay, so let's begin by talking a little bit about what food insecurity means. So first of all, who's heard the term food insecurity before today? Okay, you guys are very educated. But when we actually introduced this whole concept of food insecurity, we found that we actually had to define what is food insecurity. And of course, students could kind of put the pieces, the words together and figure out somewhat what it meant. But food insecurity means not having access at all times to enough healthy, affordable, and culturally appropriate food to lead a healthy lifestyle. So, of course, for college students, it could mean not having enough money, not having enough time. It could be a number of issues that college students face. So 52% of CUNY Community College students reported low or very low food insecurity. Or maybe food security. Okay, so it is a major issue on college campuses. Okay, so KCC, which stands for Kingsborough Community College, has several programs that students often don't know about or use. So what good is a program if students don't even know about it? And so when we went around to different classrooms, we try to gauge whether students had even heard of some of the programs that we do have. And our goal was to really help them to really understand it, educate them. So one of the programs is Food for Thought, the campus food pantry. And I know someone had mentioned that their college has a pantry, and I know that it's very common. So it's free food and health supplies that, where students can go to. We have an urban farm, which I believe we were one of the first or the first community or college, CUNY, to have the urban farm. So you can get free vegetables, you can get tours of the farm, and it's really cool. And we actually found, not to talk too much, but students that may feel a stigma when it comes to the food pantry, they felt more welcomed with the urban farm. But of course, we want to just talk about these things to really get them feeling comfortable overall. So the urban farm is big on education, of course free vegetables. It's cool because, the people are very welcoming, the people that work at the farm, you can volunteer, you can do all this really cool stuff. And like mentioned, vegetable distribution days, which of course is seasonal, but there's a big chunk of the year where that's available, and it's really cool. And of course cooking demonstrations, which is absolutely amazing, so they can learn and educate themselves as to how to use these foods, healthy foods. Okay, so goals for our research project. Okay. This is our professor, Tanzina Ahmed, and she was really great. I took her for intro to psych, and I'm sorry, I'm embarrassing you. But she really made sure that students were aware of programs on campus. I was just really impressed with her, and that's part of the reason why I took on the task of being one of the student researchers, along with the wonderful, and I'm so glad I met you guys out. Okay, so the goal was to train Kingsborough students to be food security advocates, to collect data for a study on campus on food insecurity, and raise awareness of food insecurity among students. So, When do I stop? Is this mine?
Just this last one, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so spread awareness during the food day panel. So, let's see. So 20 minutes on research, 30 minutes on games. So that's what we did. We challenged students to reflect on existing and upcoming challenges and solutions to food insecurity on campus. So Food Day is a big event that happens every year at KCC where different people can come. So it can be, we had professors from other colleges outside of the state, we had people within our school, and we had people from urban farms throughout Brooklyn and Manhattan. And it was just a really great way to investigate or to show what we investigated when it comes to food insecurity on campus. So we presented our research project that investigates how Kingsborough students are affected by food insecurity and how they use or don't use campus food programs. And you'll hear later on about the games that we played to really get them engaged. So, thank you. Next speaker.
Hello everyone. I will be discussing the games. So the first one was the food insecurity charades. Let me just get that together for you guys. Okay, so there were separate teams and each team received a point if they figured out what was the card. So for instance, I would have a card here. Everyone surrounding me would try to give me a hint without providing me the answer. So for instance, when you have it here, other people are either trying to do like some type of movement, or they're like, oh, it's about the whole United States. Like for instance, it's 42.4% percent of people that are going through food insecurity within the United States. So, well, 42 million actually. So that would be one of the answers, but that's kind of difficult. So we tried to make it a little bit more easier for Kingsborough students by providing answers like, where are the locations of the king, like where you would receive your food, either the free distributions that she discussed earlier. You would say KCC Urban Farm. I know where that is at. It just gave everyone a spark of what they could learn. Either they didn't know or they were already aware, and then engaged basically conversation within the group. They're like, oh, you knew about that, and I didn't know. You're gonna take me over there tomorrow? And they're like, okay. So it allows everyone to, one, unite as one to help each other, and then also give a little bit more knowledge. And if they did not guess correctly, they did not earn a point. The next one was the, this is actually the photo. This is a great way to describe it. This would be the cards that we used in order to describe, like, what are we trying to look for. Like the Community Cultivation Project is actually a new club that just started. I'm actually the president of the club, that's why I'm mentioning it. But it's basically to help students show that we do care about their knowledge of having food within their bellies, you know, not going throughout the whole day saying, oh, well, I only got $2 on me, I want to use that for the bus. You know what I mean? So we will be able to take them on tours, like, this is the location that you're able to go on. We want to be able to do the, and also find other ways to work with other programs to make sure that the students are aware of it. And just as I stated, the games gave students a reason to retain information and also discuss amongst each other about where, how it can affect their lives. The next one is food Jenga. Food Jenga is Jenga. Everybody knows how to play Jenga. The only difference is that each of the blocks have numbers on them that leads to questions regarding the food insecurity food insecurity plus the locations that you're able to go to get free food. And the questions challenges students to answer food facts as well as create new plans to support it. So they will be able to give each other ideas on how to, inform everyone in their classrooms, or have professors inform their students before the semester starts. Like, hey, we have a counseling office, we have other locations where you're able to receive free food. And these were one of the 3 out of the many questions. Is what kind of problems might KCC students experience if they are food insecure? The second was what programs does the KCC Urban Farm run? The third is what should our campus do in the future to help food insecure students? So we're trying to have the students engage into these questions, so we're aware that, one, their thoughts are being listened to, and also we can try to bring it to the CEO of the campus and be like, hey, these are the students' ideas, what do you think about it? So we could try to make sure that they know that we're trying to be there for them. This is also the mapping exercise. Mapping exercise was basically they choose the colors that they want to identify healthy, unhealthy, free, affordable, or costly, or not available locations within the campus. And if they wanted to rearrange it, like say for instance, as you can see, our campus is very spaced out. So you have to walk a mile, basically, to another building. So a lot of students were like, how about closer to the front entrance where people are walking into their campus without having to walk a block away from the campus and still be late to class because they're trying to get their meal. Or some of the students on my table suggested, won't you guys have booths in between the cluster buildings so we could be able to provide snacks, sandwiches, and things like that. So a lot of the students really had great ideas that we're hoping the president and the CEO listens to. And I will bring it up to Jake for the research questions. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jake, and these are the research questions. After the games, we gave out survey to the students, and we want to see if the panel at food security game changed their knowledge of food insecurity, and were they more likely to use campus program because of it, and what suggestion did students have after the panel? So we had a pretty good result. Like in scale of 1 is lowest to 5 is highest. It reported approximately 4.4 on games help me learn about food insecurity or programs, and 4 on more likely to use campus program and more likely to ask for campus changes. Like it's nicely pointed out that most students are aware about the campus programs and more likely to ask for the changes. Okay, and there are also 2 open-ended questions from the survey. We asked about how they might use the information from the panel in the future, and we also had some pretty good results. Like they have a better idea of how and where to access resources on campus, and they would like to spread the information to others in person or by social media in order to change people's food environment. And also we asked about if they have any suggestion for Kingsborough when it comes to food insecurity and programs. Some students suggested the hours for the urban farm should extend the hour for the urban farm and incorporate more programs to help struggling students. And one student recommended bringing new business who has healthy food to the campus. for advertising their food for free. And also, one student complained about the location of programs should be easy to access for everyone. And the last student, she or he suggested Kingsborough should raise awareness through classes or by conference. So overall, game is an effective way to for the campus organization to use to raise student awareness and use the programs. And for example, the game may shift student attitude and behavior on food insecurity. But however, like we need more research. We need more research in the future. Like, yeah.
Okay, so, and I'll just mention a couple of other things. I think that one of the great benefits of this is to show that games can be for more than entertainment. Games can even be more than for awareness raising. Games can be used as a tool for activism, for actually driving change. Obviously, this is the result of one panel, but while we were conducting this study, we were going into people's classrooms, we were talking directly to students. We had our wonderful student researchers being mentors to fellow students and spreading the word maybe more effectively than a professor like I could do, right? And I think that this shows that gaming is an inherently interactive activity that gives us a way to really connect with people in their everyday lives and gives them a tool to kind of reimagine their environments. So it's not just about, let me just give you some knowledge, it's about, I want you to rethink, how should your world be? How should the spaces you inhabit be? What would you like to see happen, and how could we make this change come about? And I think that is something that we'd love to explore further in the future, and we are hoping to basically actually publish some of the research results. We only presented a little bit of it right now to you guys, but we have a YouTube video of the actual panel discussion. Here's my email, so if you want to contact me, you want to get more resources, you want to see some of the surveys we used or the kind of work we did, please feel free to do so. And thank you guys so much for being here at the end of the day. All right, do you guys have any questions? Because I know it's late, I know it's 4:48, yes?
So, at BMCC,
Yeah.
I've heard about our food pantry, but I've also heard that students who've gone there have not found things, it's not stocked enough.
Okay.
And I don't even really know, because one of your visuals was about like hot food. In my imagination, I think food pantry has cans of food,
Yes.
or boxes of food. So they're not necessarily really healthy food also. So, quality and quantity,
Right.
both questions.
That is such a good point, and that is something that food insecurity researchers constantly talk about the stigma of food pantries that people encounter, and also about the fact that when people go to food pantries, they often feel, I'm not getting the healthy food or the fresh food that I want. And that can be something that keeps students and other people away from using food pantries. So what we found is that was actually something that constantly came up during games, right? So people would say, yeah, there's a food pantry, but first it's located all the way out of the way. Like when we did the mapping exercises, a lot of times students were like, why are you asking us to go 2 miles to go to the food pantry, Why is it located, like, most of the events on campus are like here, and the food pantry is located like here. Why are you asking us to walk this way? And when we get there, why are you giving us food that's not fresh or nutritious? But that's why we find that other resources like the urban farm are so useful. And Amadella spoke about this, but the urban farm gives fresh organic vegetables that they grew themselves. The urban farm actually gives hot food during food demonstrations. The urban farm teaches people how do you use these things, because you can give a vegetable to a student, they don't know how to cook it, it's not gonna be used. And Amadella?
Yeah, I was just gonna add, and there's also that program, Bring It Home.
Yeah.
That is another program that we didn't speak about that KCC has, which is a program that it's like a branch off of the urban farm, and they actually use the fresh vegetables and stuff in the classes, which are it may span like a whole semester or whatever, it spans like several weeks. And they can go to these classes and they're cooking demonstrations and they get to get involved and cook and then bring the ingredients home. So it's really cool. But I will say also, I mean, I hear what you're saying, because when we all visited our food pantry, I think that we were kind of less than impressed too. But it was
milk. I almost died. I was like, canned milk.
Yeah, well, you know. But yeah, so there are a lack of resources in terms of that. But again, supplemental, other, programs, I think, can be really great. And then also, this kind of research, I think, is amazing to try to expand it, because we were in there and it wasn't that impressive, and we were like, oh, we could knock down these walls, and we were just imagining, and dreaming. But it opens the door, the fact that we're doing the research and, maybe get to publish it and funding and all this stuff that goes into it. Yeah. It's a lot to think
Bring
about.
awareness to it.
Exactly.
And that's one of the great things about games, and I think we're going to rip off some of our wonderful past speakers and see, can we do some sort of app? Can we do some sort of computer game and not just play games in classrooms or in the panel? Those games are fun, but maybe we need something that people can do on their own without having to interact with us in particular. We're great, but we can't be everywhere. Yes?
Oh, I wanted to know, is there a possibility of maybe having like a food truck with the organic urban thing? Like getting like a food truck and then having it specialized like.
That's what I'm hoping to do with the club that we started. This is my truck over here.
Yeah, because Rutgers has like, we have a Scarlet Knight, like, that's our mascot, but like during like,
We're gonna
busy
start
periods.
small and little,
With little carts, yeah.
because of the funding.
Yeah, but
So,
maybe you can
that.
maybe you guys can like partner with like big truck name or big like food places around
That's
here.
a great
See
idea.
if they can like donate a thing and then have free advertising for their stuff.
That would be even awesome.
And then
That's a
you
great
have
idea.
like food trucks, because we have one where it's like it moves across the campus depending
awesome.
on like which like Hill Center is a hotspot at 12 o'clock, because that's where all the science people go, and as classes exit, they're like, oh, I need food, but I have a class like 20 minutes later. There's the food truck, I'm gonna get a quick bite to eat. So
That is
maybe
awesome.
having it like fueled by the organic place, but having it fueled by local food places would be cool.
That would be an amazing
Yeah.
idea. I would definitely speak with the school about that, like see if I can be able to do an outsource of trucking and stuff. They want us to do outsourced food, so might as well do that.
Have other people pay for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then,
That's a great idea.
yeah, and
That's
then another,
amazing.
and then another thing was, we actually worked on a game where it was like highlighting the services that Rutgers Newark has, and one of them was a food pantry. And we got a bunch of good feedback saying like college kids were able to like learn about all the services provided, and they felt like they were adequate. The feedback was good, so maybe making this whole thing like a game where you help other people, and we could show you afterwards like the game that we worked on and the feedback and stuff, and maybe you could incorporate that or fund or do something like that.
That's
I think
amazing.
that for any of us who are interested in working with student resources, it is important to think about gamification, because most students walk around with a phone in their pocket and they have apps. So why not use that as a way to contact students? Because let's face it, if you put flyers around, I swear to God, some students walk around like, what? What's going on, right? You email them, they're like, student email? What?
Gotta put it right in the front of the door.
Yeah.
Maybe games are the best way to think about it, or gaming apps, yeah?
This is a really great project. I'm wondering if you, in the data that you collected, if you were able, or if you had a sense of how important it was. I'm thinking of like kind of three different things. Like one is the the design of the games themselves. The second thing is just the fact that there were games there for people to play. And the third thing is the fact that it was students kind of presenting, because I'm assuming based on it seemed like were students like leading the conversations and like sort of presenting the games, like
Yeah, our student researchers did most of the work creating the games, although Glenda Ullauri, the farm educator at Kingsborough, did amazing work with them. She was also kind of their lead and their editor, and they were the most effective proponents of the games.
That's what I'm wondering, like, do you get a sense of which of those kind of three things was most important, or was it sort of like all those things were equally important? Or
that is a hard question. I think the most important thing was peer contact, and also the fact that student peers were leading it, because student peers can talk to other students way more effectively, I think, than authority figures like me could. But I also think the fact that students were allowed to reimagine the campus, instead of just thinking of this is the way the campus is, that's it, you know? They're allowed to think about, well, how would I answer these questions? How would I reorganize this space? How would I, you know, in a fun way that reduces stigma, how would I answer questions about what students might experience if they're food insecure? Because if you go up to a student and you're like, hey, I'm an authority figure, tell me if you're food insecure, let me know all your problems, you know, maybe